You're already live on the interwebs.
Yeah, let's go.
And I gave you recording privileges.
I'm already recording. We're getting the
Oh,
hang of this
look
thing.
out.
Let's
Look
go.
Now, if we could just get you into a Syracuse sweatshirt instead of a Binghamton sweatshirt, it would be okay.
Yo, talk to Jason over there. I'll wear a Syracuse Mets hoodie. I'm in.
That's a good idea. I bet you we could get you in on the influencer program. You're an influencer.
I know the organization already. We're going to be a little thin at AAA this year, but it's fine. Building the farm system.
I love it. I love it. How's your week going?
So good.
Hmm?
Like obnoxiously good. I mean, we're obviously not in the normal office today, so it's been a little bit hectic since Tuesday, but all in all, I'll take it.
Where are you?
I'm at the lovely, I actually went back home. I'm at the lovely Coffin Southern Tier Incubator, as we were for 6 months when it opened in 2017. So
Is our good friend Eric Crone going to make a cameo?
I don't know if he's in today. Everybody's on like half the team's here like every other day. I think he was here yesterday, so I don't think he'll be here today, but
everybody's sliding into a quasi weird holiday long weekend right now is what it feels like to me.
Is it a long weekend?
Yeah.
Oh, President's Day.
Yeah, it's something on Monday. I don't know.
Come on.
I might be broadcasting from Toggenburg all next week. We'll see what happens.
Do it up, brother.
We're going to talk about your favorite subject today. Are you ready?
Tom Brady?
We're going to talk about Tom Brady.
Okay.
And the reason we're going to talk about Tom Brady is because I want to talk about the Tom Brady brand. So about a month ago, now maybe it was a little bit longer than that. Maybe it was about 6 weeks ago. We talked about the Trump brand, and we studied it. We studied it agnostically. We didn't study it politically. We studied it just agnostically in a vacuum because we didn't want to get political because that's not what we do on this show. And I wanted to do the exact same thing with Tom Brady. I want to study the Tom Brady brand and ask you a few questions about why you think it's been successful, and also if you think it would have been as successful if he hasn't won 7 Super Bowls. So I'm going to start with a quick story. So in late 1998, I got a phone call from one of my best friends, Scott Clearwater. Now, this is before cell phones. This is before internet. A lot of internet. This is before a lot of those things. I'm old. I get it. I'll be 44 this year. And I was I was serving at Zeb's Deluxe Bar and Grill in Mattydale in the Kmart Plaza, which
I'm familiar with it.
Yep. So one of the best. I don't think it's even open anymore. I think it closed a couple years ago.
I believe it's still open. I almost got wings there with Lauren a couple weeks ago.
Oh, that's great. That's outstanding to know. I'm gonna have to go get wings. The Zeb original wings are the best wings of all time. So in my mind. So I get a phone call on a Friday night, and it's my buddy Scott, and he goes, "Hey, do you want to go to the Syracuse, Michigan football game tomorrow?" I go, "They're not playing in Syracuse." So he was living in Michigan at the time. Let me preface by saying he was living in Michigan at the time. And he goes, "You want to go to the Syracuse, Michigan football game tomorrow?" I go, "It's not in Syracuse, and I got to work tomorrow." He goes, "No, it's in the big house. It's in Ann Arbor." I go, "Do you have tickets?" And he goes, "No, I don't. You just show up and you buy them outside the stadium." I go, "Cool." He goes, "Why don't you drive out here? We'll get tickets, go to the game, and then you drive home and work Sunday morning." I go, "Bro," I'm like, "how long is this going to take me to get from Syracuse to Ann Arbor?" He goes, "You can do it in about 6 hours flat. You go right through the QEW in Canada, back when we used to be able to go right through Canada." And he goes, "No problem." So we get there and we go to the game, and Syracuse, I don't know if you ever remember this, Syracuse was up 31-0 at halftime. We completely destroyed, and there was a quarterback by the name of Drew Henson that was the starting quarterback for University of Michigan, number 1 overall draft pick for the New York Yankees in 1998. Never went out and did nothing with the Yankees. It got so bad that there was 100,000 people being so quiet that Scott and I stuck around. In comes the backup quarterback for the University of Michigan, Tom Brady, number 10 in your programs, number 1 in your hearts, right? So we get there, we see Tom Brady play. We have no idea who Tom Brady is. I'm looking it up in the book that we got. I drive back home the next day. It takes me about 7 hours to get through. I go to work the next day on a Sunday with no sleep. So fast forward to last Sunday, and I'm watching the game. It's a stinker of a Super Bowl. It was just boring. We were pulling for Patty Mahomes and the Chiefs just because, we like that team. And it was just an awful game. So, but I'm sitting there, I'm watching Tom Brady hoist his 7th Super Bowl trophy. And I go back 23 years when I saw him as a backup quarterback in Michigan. And I'm going, as a 6th-round pick, he goes to the Patriots. What has happened between 1998 and 2021 that he has become arguably the best quarterback of all time and arguably one of the top 4 sports people in all of history? Can you answer that? And then I have about 10 follow-up questions.
Yeah. Well, I think first and foremost, it's not a debate. He's the best to ever do it.
Yeah.
My man's got more rings than any other franchise, let alone player. What's happened? The guy has taken some average to slightly above average physical gifts and paired it with a relentless, and I do not use this word loosely, obsession with being great. And I think that that's something that and has won. Simply put, he's won literally more than anybody else, and I think that that's part of the reason for the mystique is that he's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Josh Allen. He can't throw a football out of the stadium. He never could. Even if you remember early 2000s when he first took over, he was a game manager his first 2, 3, 4 years in the league, but he just kept getting better because he's one of those guys like a Kobe, even a Kobe Bryant's a great example. That dude didn't have off the charts ability. He wasn't the fastest. He was fast, but not the fastest. He could jump, but he wasn't Vince Carter. He could shoot, but he wasn't Reggie Miller. But he's just relentlessly obsessed with getting better. And I think the same thing's true for Tom Brady. So, and then looking at it now, like 7 rings, dude, that's absurd. But he made himself a quarterback that won 7 rings, and I think if you look at it, say what you want about his sideline antics and getting in fights with his offensive coordinators and, being ready to fight a receiver for dropping a pass. But like Jordan did that. Kobe did that. Everybody did that. So like, it's just one of those things, like it's a fascinating case study. And I think one of the things that like I'm understand, like I'm weird being in upstate New York. Most people are Bills fans or Giants fans, so they hate him. I understand it. But like, you look at what he's done building a brand around it. He's gone through this kind of just transformation where he was kind of like, pretty boy, star quarterback, dating supermodels, whatever. And he's really kind of evolved into just like the cool dad on the block. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like they posted, I don't know if you saw, there was like a video on Twitter of him just hammered after the boat parade. And like, I don't know if you saw, like he quote tweeted it.
Yeah.
And he's like, nothing to see here, just a little avocado tequila. And I just think that level of just self-awareness and confidence in who I am. Oh, by the way, I'm the greatest to ever do it. Here's the proof. Mm-hmm. It's just wild. You don't see things mixed like that very often.
Well, and that's exactly my point. That's why I wanted to bring it up, and I'm glad you kind of took me to water there. It was to me, he's the perfect example of self-awareness and confidence. Like knowing, you and I talk about this all the time, and that's why I wanted to bring this up on the show, is he knows his lane. Like he knows what he's good at. He's good at the play action pass and finding Gronk down the middle, like 8 times every game for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like that, he knows who he is, and that's why he brought him to Tampa with me. In my opinion. But he knows he's not the scrambling quarterback. He's not Lamar Jackson. He knows he can't throw it through a brick wall like Josh Allen. He knows he can't throw the 50-yard bomb off his back foot like some other guy, like Brett Favre, right? But he has just stayed consistent. But he's also had that. You're exactly right. He tweeted that video of the drunk dad throwing the Super Bowl trophy to Gronk. Like if that trophy drops, it's in the middle of a Tampa River. it's. But he knew that was just going to be like the thing that people wanted to see, and you want to hate the guy, but you can't because he has been so self-aware. But he's also tweeted out that self-deprecating humor too. He's like, I'm hammered getting off my boat. Must have been too much avocado tequila, and he knows that everybody's going to be retweeting that and just laughing along with him. He's the guy that after the Super Bowl is like, oh, maybe he'll celebrate with 2 extra walnuts tonight or something, because he's been that consistent with everything that he's done. And to me, what I wanted to lead this into is the scary part is I've been studying his brand. So I've been studying like the Gronk brand. I don't know if you know about this about Gronk. He does not spend 1 penny of his NFL salary. He puts that all in a trust and he invests it. He does he'll do like Nickelodeon kid shows. He will do, I was joking with Paige about 10 times during the Super Bowl. Anytime I see Gronk, I go Tide Pods. I always do that. So yep. He would catch a ball, I'd poke Paige and I go Tide Pods. But my point is, like, he just continuously evolves as a business person, and I think he's kind of siphoned that off of Brady, the TB12 brand. And I don't know if you know this, you probably do because you're a study of the game. The TB12 brand goes far beyond the football field, beyond the football field. Lauren says she's late to the party, but yes, Zeb Originals are the best. See, there you go. I didn't realize they were still open, which I felt bad because I drove by there the other day and Siobhan told me they were closed. So we will have to go. But the TB12 brand goes far beyond the football field. Mark my words, whatever, February 12th, 2021, in 5 years, he will be more successful in business than he was on the football field. Because what he's doing is he's taking that success he's had over the last 23 years and he's turned it into, I don't know if people know this, he has like the stretching program. He has like the nutrition program. He has the supplement program. He has all of this other stuff. So that when people look at Tom Brady and they say, I want to be the greatest of all time too, cool, but you're going to have to get into a subscription model that costs you $199 a month for the rest of your life so that you can get the drink supplements, the stretching videos, the equipment, the drinks, all of that kind of stuff. So to me, I've been studying the brand and it's been fascinating to watch.
Well, I think it's a testament too to just how much work goes on behind the scenes that people don't see.
Right.
We're like, even like Gronk's a great example, and you talk about an authentic brand, goodness gracious, that guy. But, for as much as he gives off the, frat boy party animal persona, that dude knows exactly what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
He knows exactly who he is. He knows exactly what his brand is. He knows exactly how he's going to monetize that today, tomorrow, and next week. So that's super smart. A lot of people would think, oh, he's out there just spending millions of dollars on all. Like, no, not even a little bit. Mm-hmm. And Brady's the same example. Where like, I just think it's such a it's easy to take for granted now because we're living in 2021. But like, could you imagine if Michael Jordan was doing live videos on his Twitter account after game 2 of the 92 finals? It's crazy just the access that you have.
Yep.
And I think it's just a testament to that dude that he recognizes that. And it's just one of those things you like almost self-deprecating because like, I don't have to tell you I'm the greatest of all time. Mm-hmm. Most people would have argued at 6, really at 5 because, Montana had 4. Yeah. Motherfucker's at 7 now. Mm-hmm. And he's not like look at his numbers. This isn't like when Peyton won and the defense carried him in Denver to win. Like Brady was good. You know, so then you look at it like, what's the first question everybody's going to ask? How is a 43-year-old dude winning Super Bowls, not just on a team that like got him there, all of this TB12 method. Guess what? You can do it too. It's fascinating.
Every year that this guy plays from now on, I mean, I'm just ballparking, but he's going to add $100 million to his TB12 brand. I mean, for the we talk about cost of acquisition for customer and lifetime value of a customer. You and I have started talking a little bit more about that as you and I become a little bit more semi-permanent part of people's teams. It's like maybe take a little bit less up front, but as long as you have that lifetime value, it's like, holy smokes, some of these contracts I'm negotiating is a little bit less up front, but lifetime value, it's like, whew, all of a sudden it gets real fun. So for him to take less money to be part of a potential championship team like the Bucs, he knew that he was potentially the last piece of the puzzle to get them over. They didn't have, whoever, Jameis Winston in there throwing 36 interceptions last year. He knew that by limiting the mistakes with that team, that's really all they needed to get over the hump. And they retooled everything after like week 12, when they were only 7-5 in week 12, and they ripped off eight straight wins to go win the Super Bowl from that point. So to me, it's fat, and how I translate it to what you and I do, and how and we always bring this back to providing value for anybody that listens or watches this show is it is that self-awareness component, and then applying what you're good at and going all in on what you're good at. I've said this 100 times. You and I are good at like 4 or 5 things. That's it. Everything else, I'm only speaking for myself. Everything else I am terrible at. But I'll be the first one to tell you if I have an opinion on something, it's because I know what I'm talking about. If I don't have an opinion, or if I'm quiet, like last night, we're sitting there having dinner, and Paige she has a science test today on the human body, like the systems, like the endocrine system and the this and the this and the this. And Siobhan, she was helping her with the endocrine. What's the largest organ in the body? And it's the skin, by the way. I learned that last night. But she looked at me, and I just was looking at the two of them. She goes, "You have nothing to add." I go, "No, I'm so far out of my lane but I know I'm so far out of my lane." So it's the Brady brand. It is the Gronk brand, that these guys just know what they're good at, and then they're so good at looking at the game long term that they can make these individual moves, these little micro moves, as long as the North Star has been defined of what they want to do business wise. That makes them efficient, and that's what makes them at their individual positions the best at all time.
Well, I think the big thing there that you really have to look at is having that North Star and having trust and patience in your plan to get there.
Yeah.
And that is one of the biggest things that is lost on people.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. When Brady retires or checks out, not retires, because like business after, I would bet he'll have a higher net worth than any other quarterback who ever lived.
Yep.
I don't know about this year, but up until this year, in a league, in a world, in a society where the quarterback's the guy, Tom Brady has never had the highest cap hit on his team. Mm-hmm. Everybody else wants to cash out and get which I get it. You get to play for 12 years of your life and then you're done.
Yep.
So I understand the short-term thinking of going that route. But when you have that kind of like what's Tom Brady's North Star? Win more Super Bowls than anybody. Mm-hmm. Great. His actions map to that. Mm-hmm. In all the years that he could have been making $29 million, he took 19 instead. Mm-hmm. Which, oh, by the way, you're not starving on $19 million a year. But in doing that allowed the Patriots to get Corey Dillon and Randy Moss and Rodney Harrison and Junior Seau and Richard Seymour and all these guys, because he realized that, like, I'm much better, you know, making 19 million and having these 4 guys on my team. Because what's that going to help us do? Reach your North Star of winning a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's where, like, I laugh. You know, there's a certain guy that pretended he was going to sign with my baseball team and then went to the Dodgers, which I'm glad he did, by the way. I never wanted him. But he sat there in his press conference yesterday and said probably 7 or 8 times, this isn't about the money. This isn't about the money. This isn't about the money. My dude, you just negotiated intentionally a short-term contract at the highest average annual value baseball's ever seen. Yeah. Words, actions, North Star. It helps when you go to the reigning World Series champions, but still, you know, like, you have to, like, look at that kind of stuff, and people don't realize that in business either. We have 3 people within the last 2 weeks that have been with us for years. I think they're the second and 4th client we ever signed. So, like, literally going on 5 years with them now. And, you know, obviously our abilities and scale and process and value add that we create for clients has gone up significantly from 2016 to 2021. And I'm overly loyal because I know that we don't get to this point without them. So, like, we never go back and say, hey, we're raising prices. Hey, we're doing this. Hey, we're doing that.
Yep.
You know, but they've all come to us in the past literally 2 weeks and are like, hey, like, we believe in you guys. Like, let's do more. Like, coming, like, you know what I mean? So, like, that's kind of like one of the things, like, where I look at it. Like, I texted you Wednesday. You know, we have a client that literally came and handed me a sheet of paper showing me the return we created. I didn't ask for it. He's like, literally, like, for every dollar that I give you guys, you turn around and give me $2.75 back. And he stopped me 3 times in the meeting. He's like, do you realize how fucking huge that is? Like, that's lottery type numbers, you know? And it's just one of those things where, because we had that patience and because I knew we were delivering for them, all of us, KBL, me, Dave, the client, their customers, everybody's going to be in such better spot when we check out, whenever that is. Mm-hmm. And not enough people understand that. You know, obviously there's, you know, getting what you're worth up front. And I understand that, like, everybody has bills to pay, but we talked about it 3 or 4 episodes ago. The longer you can go without asking for more, you know what I mean? How do I build a bigger foundation? How do I set us up for success down the road? You know, do I take less money monthly up front to get equity and an exit on the back end? And then if you do your thing for 3 years and you start to extrapolate what that number is, yikes. But no, people don't have A, that vision, B, that patience, and C, confidence that say, I can take them from here to here.
Yep. I think ultimately, now I've had a few days to think about this, that's going to be the difference between the Brady brand and the Aaron Rodgers and Patty Mahomes and Drew Brees of the world. You know, those are the guys they'll take the 30, the 35, the 42 million a year now because it's best for what's best for their family today, which, again, no, if you've earned that and that's what you want to do, I mean, mazel tov, you know, I mean, congratulations, go build another mansion, go do whatever you want. But for me, that's the part that's been most impressive, is that he's deferred, like you just said, he's deferred salary to make the team better, so that it makes him better, to make him win more Super Bowls, to go be more successful with anything that he wants to do. And this is what it boils down to for me, is that you don't see Tom Brady on the State Farm ad with Aaron Rodgers and Patty Mahomes. I'm sure I'm sure the two of them help sell a lot of insurance. I'm sure they do. But Brady has reinvested it into his own brand. He's selling his own thing on his own website. You don't see him doing brand deals with Gatorade. You don't see him doing brand deals with Bang Energy. You don't see him doing brand deals with Fresh Direct vegetables. You don't see him doing brand deals with all those things. He's pointing his attention laser at what he's doing. You follow all of this, you could potentially be walk in my footsteps and do the exact same thing I did. To me, that is the big shift. And to me, that's been a fascinating case study.
It's all comes down to vision, because I think that like most people, it's just not what they're wired for. It's much easier to take 20 mil a year from State Farm, show up for your 8 commercials and call it a day. You know what I mean? Like, how do you build? And he's building a business, and I'm like, sure, he has partners that actually run it and then, whatever, but still, like, to have that kind of vision, I just think a lot of people lack that, and they don't understand like how long life is. I like we were talking about it the other day. There are people in our small corner upstate New York that were crushing it more than we were in 2014. And there's shit that we could have done to do what they were doing and makes a little bit more money in 2014. You know where they're at now? Me neither, because they haven't been around for 3 years. So like, and I just think not enough people have that level of vision and patience. And I think even like on use the NFL quarterback level, how many quarterbacks are retired with 160 million in the bank and no rings? And if you said, hey, would you trade this to have 110 million in the bank and 3 rings? How many would say yes? I think it's a lot, and the same thing goes for business and in life. Like, even like with us, I could take a way higher salary today, way higher, probably almost double. But for what? Like, I'd much rather like we're getting to a point like we have to hire again. We're investing in our process, like our content game. Why? Because content marketing is the future, Adam? Yes, guys. But like, by doing that, by having it be just me going forward and not the 5 partners we started with, all of that kind of stuff, 20, 30, 50 years from now, exponentially different end game, And people don't realize that. The amount of kids, even in this building, that we talk to every day, that like write 6-figure salaries for themselves year 1 into their business plan. You're just like, what the fuck are you doing? Your company's not going to make 6 figures the first 3 years you exist. What are you talking about? But it's just, that's everybody's shiny star.
Yep.
Nobody has that.
Yep. Great question from my mom, as a matter of fact. How do you think Brady knew how to do that? Does he have people like you and I around talking to him, advisors? How do you think somebody like that comes out of college and says, at 24 years old, whatever he was when he came out, 23, 24 years old, and says, I want to build a career so that I can be even more successful in business afterwards? How do you think, is that it? This is the nature versus nurture conversation. Are you born with it, or do you learn it, or both?
Well, I mean, I would, obviously I haven't talked to Tom super recently, so I don't want to speak on that. But like, I would highly doubt he was thinking at this level at 24. Right. But I mean, we just talked about it for the last half hour. Same kind of things that the things that make you successful are the things that make you successful. Yep. The same way that, you look at areas of opportunity or weaknesses or places you can leverage strengths in football are the same things that help you win in life and in business, you know? And I'm sure, you know, this like use KBL as an example. I never planned on starting a marketing agency. It was never on the radar. But back in the community days, we figured out how to use all this shit because we were poor kids in their 20s that had no money to figure anything else out, you know? And then enough people saw what we were doing and they're like, hey, can you do that for us? And then one thing leads to another. And it's like, oh, wait, they'll pay us to do it for them. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm sure through his 2 decades of playing different, you know, other quarterbacks, players, athletes, you name it, have been like, hey, man, like, how are you doing this at 37? How are you doing this at 40? Like, and it's just like, you know, and then that same focus and vision and just, you know, what's a creepy obsession to a lot of people, you know, that carries over. Mm-hmm. And it's, you know, it's not hard to see how a dude who has the vision to say like, hey, taking 19 instead of 26 mil is going to help me win Super Bowls. It's not hard to see like, hey, creating this could set me up for some stuff after playing's over, you know? So fundamentally it's the same thing. You just apply it to different situations.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to bring this up for conversation. It's eerily. That's why I wanted to use this as a case study for today's show. Is, you know, you and I joke about it a lot. It's all the same stuff because it's all the same stuff. I think Tom, you know, from what I understand, you know, Brady grew up, you know, pretty comfortably, but I think he was very well grounded. I watched a couple of videos about his parents and things like that. I just think he was very well grounded as a kid. And also very self-aware of what you know, who he was and what his potential was. I also think it comes down to, you know, what do you want to do? Like, what do you literally want to do and wake up every morning and do for the rest of your life? You know, did I know 5 years ago that I'd be sitting in this chair with you know, today talking to you and working with some, you know, A-list, you know, musicians and celebrities and things on their brands? No, I didn't. But as my career kind of changed and pivoted, the first question I always asked myself was, do you want to wake up every morning and do this? Do you? Because if you don't, you're not going to do it anymore. And then you're going to quit, and then you're going to complain, and then you're going to move on to the next thing. So this is how I start every single one of my potential new client calls is, we have about 30 minutes together. At the end of this 30 minutes, you know, just so you know, I'm interviewing you as much as you're interviewing me. Because I'm at a point in my life where I want very little friction. And if I see your name come up on my phone and I get a little ping right here that there's friction, like, I'm out. I call it the good guy clause. It has to check that box first. So for Brady, I think he thought, do I want to play football? You know, probably back then he's probably thinking 10 years. 10 years would be a phenomenal career in the NFL, and then go off and do something else in the business world. But as he gained more in from State Farm, or do I invest the $20 million in TB12 and go make $250 million over the lifetime? You know, and I think he was just super self-aware of what he was good at, what he wanted to do. I'm sure he has great advisors around him. I'm sure he has great business people around him helping. I'm sure he's made great mentorships around him in the business space. But, you know, he's the guy that I could see owning the team, as opposed to playing for the team for 20 years. You know, it's like the John Gruden thing. It's like he saw a bigger picture as opposed to getting 10 million a year to coach. He's like, no, I want 7.5 million and I want a percentage of the Raiders. It's like, wow. Like, when you think at that level, it's hard to think at that level, number one. But number two, it's even harder, I'm going to drop it, to have the audacity to ask for it. You know, it's to ask for that. It's me when I get on a call with these guys and I say, yeah, if you get acquired, I want 10%. If this brand gets acquired by whoever, you know, Heineken USA, if this brand gets acquired by Heineken USA, I want you to write me a check for 10% of what you just got. And actually have that come out of your mouth, and try not to throw up while you're on the phone call. Like, it's just having all of that vision, but it starts with the self-awareness. Do you want to do this every single day? Have the vision, ask the questions. That's really how I see it.
Yeah, I mean, people just don't, we talk about it a lot, like the career that both you and I have didn't exist 10 years ago. Like people just don't comprehend the potential that exists. Like I saw a tweet today. It took Netflix just over 10 years to get to 100 million paid subscribers. Disney Plus did in 14 months. Mm-hmm. You know, and like this shit's not changing. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just getting bigger and going faster. So like that's the thing, like whatever it is, like first of all, you have to love it. You have to want to do it every day. You know, I like to use Brady as an example. All things considered, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank, supermodel wife, more Super Bowl ring than anybody. None of that happens if he doesn't love football more than literally anything else. Because he's not going to put, no exaggeration, 14-hour days in 7 days a week for 30 years to make that happen. That's where it all starts. You know, everybody else, they get into this vortex of, I'm going to work harder than everybody. Okay. You're not going to if you don't love it. And I don't mean like it. I don't mean even really like it. Love it. Like weirdly obsessed with it. You know, like a couple of my buddies were making fun of me the other day because we were walking to get dinner at a restaurant who's a client of mine. And I wanted to go out of our way to walk past 4 other restaurants downtown on our way there so I could see what their dining rooms look like. How full are they? And then compare it to how full ours is. And I get it. Like, that's fucking weird, man. It was 17 degrees last night. Why are you making a 3-minute walk, a 9-minute walk? But it's just stuff like that. And the only reason that I want to do that is because I have a weird, like, I am obsessed with them being better than everybody else. The same way I'm obsessed with us being better than everybody else. And we do that by little ticky-tack stuff like that. But you do that for 14 hours a day. For me, 6.5 days a week. You know, but people just don't realize that part of it.
Well, and this is what I just had a call with just not even a client, I wouldn't even call him a prospect, to be honest with you. It was just it was kind of a friend of a vendor is the way I would put it. And he's starting a brand in Philadelphia. Very interesting brand. You know, not just kind of bootstrapping with his buddy, and you know, it's really just doing it, you know, just putting it on his back and really plowing through. And I said, you know, it's one of the first questions I ask everybody. All right, in 24 months, what does this brand look like? Tell me where you're being distributed. Tell me who you're selling to. Tell me what are you working full time? Is this still a side hustle? Are you looking for acquisition? Like, where is this brand in 24 months? And he had a better answer than most. He laid it right out. Every 6-month period, he's like, we're going to be in this here, we're going to be here, we're going to be here, we're going to be here. And I was like, wow, this guy has a better chance to succeed than most because he's actually mapped out that North Star. He told me exactly where they're going to be in 24 months. And I said, that's all well and good. And so I told him the story. I said, what happens when it gets hard? What happens in month 13 and a half where it gets hard and you're not hitting the goals and you're way off track and you just don't know how to recirculate and get back to where you want to go? And he goes, we haven't had that conversation yet. I said, it's all fun and games when the adrenaline is pumping and you're doing a raise and there's money in the bank and you're selling some product and you have some press and you have some bloggers writing about you. That's all great. But when you get down to, you have to fund your next run and your next run's going to cost you $6,000 and you have exactly $6,075 in your bank account. Like, are you going to sit across the table from your co-founder and say, do you believe in this enough to write a check for 99% of the money that we have left in our bank account? Like, are you going to, when you get punched in the gut, what are you going to do at that point? And that's actually how I left the conversation. You know me, I'm one of the most optimistic people out there. I usually leave them on a very high note. I purposely left this guy on a low note because I wanted him to know what was going to happen, not because I didn't want to paint a rosy picture for him and give him hope. I wanted him to know what was coming and be prepared for it.
Yep.
So I gave him 28 minutes of rah, rah, and I can get you in front of this guy, and I can get you in front of this guy, and you can be successful at. On that Tuesday afternoon, when you have to write a check for $6,000 and you have no money left in the bank, how are you and your co-founder going to respond? So if you believe in it that much and you obsess in it that much and you love it that much, but when it gets down to that level of nitty gritty, how are you guys going to respond? My last piece of advice to him was have that conversation now before you have it in 14 months. And you sit down with your co-founder and say, we've put all of our life savings into this brand. When we go to potentially zero, when we're razor thin between what we want to have happen and zero, what's that conversation going to be like? And he goes, we're going to have that discussion this weekend and we're going to call you next week. I go, good. I look forward to hearing your answer.
I mean, it's all shit that you have to have lined up, man. And, you know, obviously, hopefully you do it right and you have a plan so that you don't have to get there. But like, it's weird. Like you almost like, if you have to think about it, like that's almost your answer. You know? We're like, I mean, we're lucky because like we don't have, being like a service-based business, like we don't really have that, right? Like but like we talk to people a lot. Like we have a couple of prospects that from our regard, like I can tell them like it's not gonna happen.
Right.
There's been no negativity from the client at all, but like I can decide within 10 minutes like if somebody's like gonna be one of our people or not, and that's a huge part of it. Mm-hmm. Where you can tell like they're gonna set the world on fire because they're so great, and like that's not even gonna be an issue. And in your head, you're like, brother, I don't know, but like and that's like difficult conversations you got to have up front. Mm-hmm. And it's weird because like on the inverse of that, when it does hit and somebody can look you square in the eye and with conviction say, we're all in, this is going to work. There's not a feeling like that. Mm-hmm. You know, and especially like when you've put yourself in a position where they're trusting you to help do it. Yep. Mm-hmm. Like, that's why like I can't relate to like people that like dread going to work. Like that's what we get to do every day. Yeah. You know what I mean? And like, that's fucking cool. Mm-hmm.
Because you spent the time being internalizing what you guys wanted to do. That's what you did. You're like, I wanted to do this and bring it full circle. We'll do last call for questions on Facebook or text. I've been getting some text ones too. I appreciate you guys checking out the show. It's been great. And that's why I want to bring it back is if Tom Brady came out of Michigan, won 3 Super Bowls, and hated his job every single day, what does that say? Yeah, I made some money. I became famous. I'm probably set for the rest of my life. And to me, he must have had this. That's what I wanted to finish on. Is he must have had that thought process very early on to say, I want my North Star to be the best quarterback of all time. I want to build my own brand. I don't just want to sign every brand deal that comes around because it's not part of the TB12 brand. You know, he's not the Tide Pods guy. He lets other people do that. He's not the State Farm guy. He's not the Peyton Manning guy. He's his own thing. And I think that's why it was so fascinating as I've gotten a chance to think about it this week is it's a perfect analogy for what you and I talk about every day to give our clients and our partners success. It's exactly the same thing. It's identifying what you want to do, working your hardest as possible within balance, working as hard as you can to achieve those goals and having that North Star and making those decisions. So that's why I wanted to bring it up today because it's, you know, I hope there's a book about it. I want to read about it. I want to study the brand more, but I respected him as a Bills fan. I respected him throughout the years, didn't love him throughout the years, but now he's in the cool dad phase, which I can totally, try to understand, which I love. It's just going to be seeing that next level from him going there into the executive and the CEO of the TB12 brand. I'm really excited to watch it.
Well, and I think kind of the big thing and kind of something to really bring it full circle, like, I think it's just an excuse to illustrate that you just you don't have the right to complain about anything. Like, it's just like you look at a guy like Tom Brady, right? Was a backup at Michigan most of his career. Drafted, 6th round, 199th overall. You know what I mean? Benched behind Drew Bledsoe. Like, there's so much shit. Like, my arms, like the picture of him at the combine was gone viral, right? There are so many things that he had so many outs along the way. There's so many times he given like, this isn't going to happen. Fuck this. I'm not good enough. But literally worked himself in to being the greatest of all time. And then you got a guy, my love for his reality show aside, like Jay Cutler, right? Arm talent wise, probably one of the best you've seen in the last 20 years. Could throw it anywhere. But from the second he came into the league, the biggest knock on him was like, we don't know if he cares about the game. So he's a franchise quarterback that Denver trades. And then he's a franchise quarterback and then Chicago trades him. And then he retires at 31? Yep. His coach gets hired in Miami. Oh, fuck it. I'll play for one more year. I'll take the $12 million. But like, there's a perfect example, talent wise, blows Brady out of the water. Not even sitting in the same row at the combine. But Brady literally has more rings than Jay Cutler has playoff appearances. And I just think that's like, so like for me, that's it. Like, no matter what, like even like us, there were agencies where someone's going to be a better salesperson than us. You know what I mean? They might be, whatever else, but like, if your, like I have it written on the wall back in the office, like if your effort or your attitude is ever a reason that you fail, like, fuck you. You know what I mean? And so many of these people, like they'll let, like, no one's a 10 out of 10 all the time, but like you see people that on one hand are posting on Facebook that they're looking for clients or that business is hurting and all that, and then they're done working at 4:15 in the afternoon. Huh? Mm-hmm. And like that's like a thing where like, yeah, like a guy like Brady like had some stuff lined up for him, but like I bet you he never went home at 4, even at 41 with 6 rings in his pocket.
You get to choose how you get to chart it out and choose a lot of the path, don't you?
More than just about anybody wants to let themselves believe.
Tom Brady is proof that you are in control, whether you have overwhelming talent or not. That's how we're going to leave it. I love it. Well, thanks for checking us out live on Facebook. Episode, what did I say, 45? What did you say, 45?
Yes.
Episode 45. So, or if you're watching on YouTube later on or on Spotify or iTunes, thank you. Hey, it's a long weekend. You didn't even know. I had to inform you it was a long weekend.
Well, it's not a long weekend, KBL land, but hey.
For some people, it's still a long weekend. Not for us.
Everybody enjoy your 3-day weekend.
Enjoy your 3-day weekend, everybody. Have a great weekend. Thanks for watching. Cheers.
See you.